Welcome to the Head Shepherd podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ferguson, CEO at Next and Agri International, where we help livestock managers get the best out of their stock. Before we get started, a big thanks to our three fantastic sponsors. Allflex, part of MSD, perhaps better known as Cooper's Animal Health in Australia, offers one of New Zealand and Australia's largest livestock product portfolios with a comprehensive suite of animal health and management products. Heininger is a one-stop shop for wool harvesting and animal fibre removal. The Heininger team have a deep understanding of livestock agriculture, backed by Swiss engineering and a family business dedicated to manufacturing the best. ProA Livestock Equipment have been delivering industry-leading livestock handling systems to producers across Australia, New Zealand and beyond for the last 25 years to improve on-farm safety, efficiency and profitability. We are grateful to our sponsors for their support, helping us bring Head Shepherd to you each week. And now it's time to get on with this week's episode. Welcome back to Head Shepherd. Thanks very much for listening along. Exciting guests today. They all are, of course, but this one's a good mate of mine, Richard Green, who I spend a few hours with every 3 or 4 months and really enjoy that time. He's a good mate and a great mentor of mine, so it's a real privilege to bring him on to the show and share some of his wisdom with listeners. He spends a lot of time thinking about what the future of ag might look like and how we engineer business to be the best to make that future happen. He's not one to sit around and wait for things to happen. He's one to actually do things to make that future, that more desirable future happen. So yeah, really great conversation with Richard, and I really do hope you enjoy it. We are only 8 days away from LAMX, so hopefully we're catching up with lots of you there. Make sure you come and find us. We're there with our good friends at Weatherby's Scientific and SwabTech, so we're sharing a stand with both those. Come and find us at Next Gen Agri Stand, or we'll be there with Weatherby's and with SwabTech. Really looking forward to that. And don't forget our Wednesday night wander around the streets of Adelaide, going to 5 different pubs, kicking off as soon as things close at LAMX. And so we're doing that with Flock's sake, and looking forward to having a bit of a catch up with lots of you there. Remember, you have to wear tweed to be part of that, or I think we have extended it to maybe shearers, singlets, and full rot flats kind of looks. But anyway, I'm sure we're not going to turn you around. But it'd be great to have a good roll out there and catch up with lots of people. We've got a few internationals joining us, so it's going to be great to have an opportunity to catch up and chat sheep as we wander around a few quality establishments of Adelaide. Righto, we'll get underway with this week's show with Richard Green. Welcome, Richard, to Head Shepherd.
Thanks, Ferg. Good to be here.
It's great to get here, mate. This has been on my hit list for a while, so great to be having you on. We normally do this over a couple of beverages at a local haunt, which is always highlight of the quarter, or maybe half year at the moment, but we'll try and get it back to quarterly. But we're often talking about all things future of ag, and so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to have a yarn and talk about that. We might start with kind of where I think we met, or certainly my memory of meeting you is in Stanford University, where we went up with the Tohono program. I guess I can talk about my reset from that, but what did that week do in terms of your mindset? Yeah,
that's a good spot to start, Ferg. I think it was 2017. So 9 years ago now, so it was a long time ago. But and you know, those things you always remember about the people, don't you? And I think there was probably 70 odd people on our cohort, so we made some lifelong friends, and you know, I think that's right, where you and I first met, and you had a major reset coming back from that. And I think it's probably the first time that I really had space out to sit there, and it was probably designed like that too, where we actually got so much disruption thrown at us, well, potential of disruption, and built around what was happening in other industries with technology, and what was happening around climate and climate change that was going on globally, and probably what was happening with consumers and what their changes were going to be. And, you know, I always remember being told the average age of the global consumer was age 31, and they're going to want quite different than probably what we're producing. So I remember thinking, gosh, there's some change coming. And at the time, it was actually quite scary. I probably rationalised it a lot more now, but I remember for me it was actually, hey, we just can't carry on doing what we've always done and thinking we're going to succeed. And we broke into subgroups, you might remember, Ferg, and my subgroup was around exponential agriculture. And I think that name came out because we'd always sort of talked incremental agriculture, and that still works in New Zealand. I mean, genetics is a great example of that, isn't it? 1 or 2% compounded gain a year that has got us to this great spot we're in. But I think the message I came back with was we've got to keep doing incremental, but we need some exponential change and some step change to come along to keep up with what's going to happen globally.
Yeah, and that was good. I actually had my Stanford University hockey T-shirt on yesterday, which was which is one that we bought because of the hockey stick we're all going to create. And not sure we've done that yet, but we're certainly trying harder than we were.
I actually heard, because I'm obviously a graduate of Stanford now,
obviously
Lincoln University and then Stanford.
Yeah,
I actually went to. I repeated the experience this year and went to a agri-business seminar at Harvard. So I'm now also a graduate of Harvard University as well. So I'm one up on you there.
Excellent, mate. You won't have enough wall space for all their certificates, mate.
No.
I guess it was the first time I remember understanding the impact AI was going to have on the globe, and we certainly got was my first insight into that, and probably it was one of those great. I mean, we came back and did something about AI, but probably should have lent in even harder because it. Including buying NVIDIA chips, that would have been a good option.
Yes.
But yeah, it was. I guess it was impossible back then to predict where the world has gone from there. But we had the early signs, and yet. So I guess maybe the question is, if we fast forward 8 years now, which is an impossible question to answer, but what do you think are the big things that ag needs to be focusing on now with sort of what we've learned in the last 8 years since that reset? But I guess the things that you're starting to see and what you learnt from graduating up at Harvard.
Yeah, big questions, aren't they? And I guess you never really know what the future looks like, but you just pick up early signs. And I remember back in 9 years ago when we were at Stanford, but they talked about agriculture was the least digitised industry of any of the industries globally, yet it made up 10% of global GDP. So at the time they were saying expect huge investment to come into this sector and built off AI, etc. And I think that's happening. I mean, that definitely is happening. And, all of us that work with AI know that how much it improves every quarter. So it's only really getting going. So I think technology is going to be a hallmark of the future. Absolutely. And we've got the ability to work out how we leverage off that and how we even adapt our systems around technology. I know with when we used to have, it's quite a different example, but technology in plants. I had a background in the seed industry, and you'd never made money out of introducing technology until you started changing your system to leverage off that technology. So it actually takes systems changes, and then you got to work out how you stack technology into your system. So you don't just get one benefit, but you get the synergistic benefit of technology. So I think we've still got to work out how we do that. And perhaps we're starting to get insights in that into this collar technology now about how we drive system change. I think consumers keep changing, Ferg, and I think that's something that, probably one of the insights I've had in the last couple of years is we've almost got what they call now this hybrid consumer, where we've got the people that shop for experiences and absolutely luxury, so they're absolutely at the top end. And then we've got most of us that shop at the value end. We still want quality, but we want as much value within that as possible. And the middle has been completely hollowed out. So when we're now supplying as farmers and producing and thinking about supply lines, don't be stuck in that middle because you're absolutely in the black hole of death. You've either got to be in that value end or you've got to be in the shorter value chains with a real value proposition in the luxury end. And that's something that's really stuck with me. So I think climate change is something else is going to keep disrupting systems. We've seen that already, but it's going to even double down the next 10 years. And so we need to be thinking about how we build more resilience into our farming businesses. And that's not just tokenism, that's real resilience. And it's probably more alternate sources of income. So we actually can fall back on things when other things fall out of bed. The cycles are so short now, whether it's consumer cycles, geopolitical, disruption is real, and we're just kicked around. So it's quite a different mindset, I think, of how we run businesses now. So, yeah, that probably. Some of the things I saw sorry, you just cut me off from speaking to me.
Yeah.
Certainly from my Harvard experience in January, the rise of Brazil and probably South America, full stop, and doubling down in their strength in commodity production was fascinating, but scary. Never try and compete against South America and soybean, corn, sugar, probably commodity beef.
Yeah.
And a lot of people around the world were saying that, they were just completely disrupted. And not only now are these companies just Brazilian-based, they've used those super profits and they're actually integrating globally. And, whether it's the Middle East or China or US, they're going into the big markets. And they're still feeding off their South American base, but they're investing heavily in manufacturing and supply chains globally. So I think one of the things I came back is if we're going to be in the commodity space, we have to be really good at it. And we have to scale rapidly. We have to be completely focused on productivity. And I sort of got the sense that we're sitting on our laurels here at the moment. It frustrates the hell out of me when I hear us talk about we're the best farmers in the world.
Yeah.
And we may be, and we may have been, but that's a moment in time. There's so much change and progress and disruption happening around the world. We're only as good as how we were yesterday, and every day we've got to improve. And so I'm absolutely believe we can be successful, but we've got to embrace all these things around technology and getting close to consumers and being very innovative if we're going to continue to win in the future.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that hollowing out of that consumer set is something I haven't considered. And so I guess if I'm just trying to think of an example of that, as someone who's focused on, I don't know, a selection for marbling but aren't doing anything in the market, so you sort of got this more premium product that's costing you a bit more to produce because of you giving away something else to get that. But unless you're actually getting the full value to that, so it's not going to that experiential consumer, then you'd be better off just pumping out the kilos. Is that the kind of...
Yeah, that's exactly, but it's probably more how do you build a supply chain around that marbling.
Yeah.
Well, and you've got to recognise it's very difficult from Australia and New Zealand. We're a long way away from 90% of our consumers, and so it's easy to talk about in theory. In practice, it's a lot harder, and I've tried before, well, not tried, it's succeeding, I guess, with a couple of industries, but it's not for the faint-hearted, and you can't just do on small scale. You actually need to scale quite rapidly to do it, and you need a big balance sheet to be able to do it as well, and that's why it's so difficult to do. It's a lot easier if you're sitting in the US or Europe, but some of this is a mindset thing. We haven't, historically, we have always seen as our success of the future is develop or producing within the farm gate unbranded commodities.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my challenge to myself is I don't think that's how we can necessarily win in the future. So we need to find a way to, first find our points of differentiation that someone's going to value, and then how we build a farming system to make sure we deliver them on a consistent basis, how we scale, but then how do we partner? How do we partner in market? How do we just partner with the stainless steel or the processing facility or something to get that to the market?
Yeah. One of the challenges with our stalling productivity, obviously, if we are going, as you said, if we are going commodity, we have to be very good at it, which means we have to be absolutely production efficiency driven. One of the challenges is pretty much all government, university, thought leadership has focused on climate change, and we can argue around rightly or wrongly, but that has, this is my theory anyway, that has been a component of our falling productivity drive, I suppose, and drop off of productivity because we're having to invest in this longer term issue, which, so it's kind of, I mean, we may be investing in the right stuff, but it's also really hard to keep productivity up when you don't invest in it. If you don't invest in research in production, and we have we had a great history of doing that, both Australia and New Zealand, and probably recently, obviously, a lot of federal funds have fed it into things that are focused on climate change and, well, abatement or dealing with climate change. But yeah, it's an interesting, and we're not going to get too far into policy today, but I guess in terms of where we invest as businesses, we're probably facing the same challenge. Do we go for that future market, which will be focused on carbon, or do we stick with a real efficiency drive, which will be focused on that commodity?
And, I don't disagree with you, Ferg, where R&D, we've leveraged off our historical R&D investments and productivity. But, I think I get quite excited about these new private funded technologies that are going to come along.
Yeah.
And how we trial and test them within our farming systems and work out how they might actually take us to another level as well. And sometimes it means failing fast. It means that they won't actually add any value. But some technologies will, and I know you're involved in quite a few of them as well. And we can learn off each other. We don't have to do everything. It's what other people have found and what works. But I'm hoping that might kickstart some of our productivity drive again, because we have come off our foils, haven't we, when you look at the data.
Yeah, yeah.
And AI, gosh, if we can't use understanding the data, if we're not capturing data and we can't somehow use that to get insights through these tools now, well, we haven't been using them the right way. I would have thought there's real insights that we can actually drive efficiency and therefore output, per unit of whatever we're measuring.
Yeah. And I think, like where we started this conversation, probably the big thing for me about going up to Stanford and doing those things getting out of your comfort zone or going to some different, exposed to different crew of people is what you believe is possible. I think that's the shift. Like if we didn't know about these data systems, or we didn't have things like the collar systems and stuff that are out there now, and some of the insights we're getting from them, once you know that's possible, you can get way more creative. But when you don't know it's possible, your creativity is kind of stalled by what you know, which is a massive challenge.
Well, it's like people running the fastest mile, wasn't it? Once the barrier to that was broken, then everyone can do it because suddenly someone's showing the way. So I'm a huge believer, probably the older I get, the more I appreciate the value of personal development. And I've always said, probably glibly for a start, but I've always said it's a 10 times return. But I absolutely believe that if you, and you and I have been lucky in our career, we've probably done lots of it, but I'm probably doubling down on that now and doing even more because the world's a changing place, and it's actually to even understand what you should be focusing on. And we own quite a few different businesses as well. So the biggest challenge I have in businesses is where do you invest? Because capital's so limited, Where do I put that capital every year? Do I pay off debt? Or if I'm going to invest back in my business, what's going to make me more resilient? What's going to set me up better for the future? Because if you blow $100,000 on the wrong thing, then, it takes a long time to come back from that. Yeah,
and that's an eternal challenge. And I guess many people listening will be in the ag space. And I guess one of the things we kind of see is when prices are good, people are happy investing in stuff that may or may not be the best option. But when prices are really tight or when systems are tight through weather or prices, then they're much more strategic with those investments. And I guess part of what we try and be is keep that same strategic level up regardless of what the price, the farm price gate is. But talking those businesses or just generally, Richard, you've obviously successfully built, sold, rebuilt, maybe lost the odd one on the way, not sure, but I know that I know that central to that success has been people and getting the right people doing the right things. Well, how do you go about that?
How do you go about that? I've been very lucky to have lots of good people around me. I mean, I think the first thing is work out what someone else is. You've got to align your objectives, don't you? And you've got to work out what drives them and how do they achieve what they want out of their lifetime. And, I've probably always been a big goal setter personally and written goals. And I know a lot of people, whether it's me encouraging them or whether I'm mixed with those sort of people, but a lot of people I align with are also goal setters and happy to share goals. So it becomes a lot easier to work out, well, okay, are we aligned? What does your motivations look like? What's your success look like? How do I help you get that? At the same time, you're helping me.
Yeah.
And, and then that's the nice bit. Not everything goes well. And, you know, a lot of business I've been in, you judge your partners more during the tough times to know if they're the right partners in the good times. And when things get tough, you've actually got to deal with things, and you've got to, you know, don't let them fester. That's been, I think, a real insight I've had. You know, talk about the real issues. Don't just talk about the fluff, the bad things as well as the good things. So, yeah. So have good people around you and keep challenging each other. Have a culture where challenge is encouraged, and feedback, positive and negative, and, you know, that be curious. I think that's the cultures I do best in, and I think the people around me do best in. So they are the sort of people I've had around me, I guess.
Yeah. And that's a good point about being curious. You've obviously, any time I've chatted with you, you're always referring back to a book you've read or something. So you obviously focus pretty heavily on learning and your own development. Has that always been the case, or that's sort of grown over time?
It's always been the case. I've always been looking to the next 10 years more than I've been looking to the next month, I guess. But it's probably, I've doubled down on that probably recently, because there's so much change going on and there's so many things I don't understand.
Yeah.
And now podcasts are fantastic because you get insights from people, and you can do it when you're out running, or you can do it, you know, when you're mowing the lawns, or listen. But I always have tried to read widely, talk to really interesting people. So I think you need to have, I talk now about direction of travel in businesses, because it's strategy is really hard, because, you know, things change all the time. But if you know what your direction of travel is, you've got the ability to adapt and change as you go. So I guess I'm always testing can I actually land, rather than the direction of travel, can I land on a place I'm going with my business? Or do I need to actually even change that direction of travel? So I guess that's why I'm always testing and listening and thinking. And global travel is really good for that too, just particularly if you've got a product in a business that you're trying to understand what consumers are thinking, what changes happened. So yes, to answer the question, I always have been like that, I guess, Ferg, but probably more so now.
Thanks, mate. You make a really good point about international travel, and whether that, or it might even be national travel if you've sort of haven't been to the capital city in your state or region lately, and haven't, like, obviously they're a different consumer set than what we might be targeting. But I think the starkest memory of heading up to Stanford was just fully understanding that America actually doesn't know where New Zealand is, and there's not. I think when we're down here, we think we're pretty special, and we are, and it's a beautiful place to be. And both Australia and New Zealand have amazing components, but the assumption, or the underlying assumption that everyone knows we're here and is sort of their dream is to get hold of our products is flawed and not right. And so we actually have to, like, that's a job that has to be done to get that knowledge or get that awareness in brands, not really countries anymore. And that's probably been that's the most exciting thing for me and Ag, I suppose, is that we're moving to private investment in brands, private investment in innovation. So it's no longer this kind of country-led type stuff, because we always go better where business led. Like, it's not hard to see that in Silicon Valley, and that's one of the joys of being in Stanford, is that you see that, like, a lot of those businesses have more GDP than most countries. So like there's a lot of success in letting innovation drive. Don't know where I'm going with that, mate, but it is, it's interesting. Yeah. We need to be aware of where we are.
Getting offshore is critical. And we've got a group that I've travelled with twice now, and we've just privately organised a group of 10 of us. And we've been to San Fran and LA one year, and then we went to Australia, actually, last year, was it? And just a group of like-minded people, and 10 of us, and we self-organise, and we go for a week. And we ring people up and we say, we'd like to come and see you and hear your story. And that's been amazing. And not only do you learn from the businesses, but it's the people you're with.
Yeah.
And so, I think it doesn't have to be hard or expensive. And I'm quite happy signing up for courses. But that probably didn't start. I mean, we had a seed business that forced me to travel a lot. Like, I was away 100 nights a year, apparently. So my wife often reminds me of for 10 years globally. And I'm not a natural traveller. I love home, and I'm quite keen to be home. But so I used to do it very efficiently and only be away and be back again. But it was very good for me to actually understand consumers, what brands worked globally, what didn't. What some of the trends were, what some of the younger people were thinking, what was happening with production systems around the world. And so, so that really opened my eyes during that process of my life, part of my life.
Yeah, definitely. And being someone who's, I reckon I'm on track to be less than 100 days this year, so that's awesome. So there has been some progress, but but I guess I feel like you do know, but that's been mostly Australia, obviously, but yeah, I feel like I have a good handle on Australia and New Zealand because I see lots of it a fair bit.
Every time I come home, if I've been away, even if I'm in Australia or wherever, I come back to this part of the world, I think, gosh, how lucky we are. How lucky we are to live here. But also come back and think, we lack ambition.
Yeah.
And, how do we ensure that we can have the best of both worlds? We can have the ambition that a lot of the rest of the world have, but we can have this fantastic lifestyle and this great place to farm and run our businesses from here. And I think that's the real challenge for us. And ultimately, it's going to come down to partnerships. How do we partner around the world? And so we actually, because we can't do everything from this part of the world, it's just too hard. But in every business I've been involved in, it's choosing your distribution partners and making sure that they've got the same philosophy and they're positioning your product where you believe your product should be positioned, and they're prepared, and you've both got a joint agreement around how you share value out of that. I think that's going to be really important. So it's those sort of soft skills, and they're really important we learn as well, how to partner, how to know what your partner wants. And they're not now partners within your business. These are partners that you've got a business relationship with, and they might be offshore. They might be in the US or Europe or up through Asia somewhere. And that's our next, I think we've got to really crack that better than we have in the past.
Yeah, I reckon there's so much gold in that. I think one thing that we're slowly got my head around, but is exactly that, probably because we've caught up lots of times. But yeah, I think the ability to stay in your lane and do your lane well and partner with people that aren't in your lane. Like I think lots of people jump out of their lane and we've been guilty of wandering a little bit out of our lane, but if we work out exactly what our lane is, what our vertical is, and then work out who we need to have external to that, I think that's so key.
And I think the thing we can do, Fergus, it's unlikely that one farm is going to partner globally, but it's the skill is how do we, collective capital is a great term that New Zealand's done well with co-ops, but it's almost like another phase now. How do we get like-minded people together with collective capital, that these are farmers that can suddenly have got a volume of product and they've got a common vision, and then they can partner with someone that can take that product to market. And it might mean that they've then got a partner with someone else who's got the stainless steel in market that can help them. But it's a different way than we've done before. It's sort of thinking about how do I control my future as opposed to just hope that someone's going to lead me in the right direction.
One thing that always challenges me is, and you said at the start around we're going to need to diversify to handle climate change, and I think that's true. And then the other side of business is to really nail what we've just been talking about, is niche right down and do one thing really, really well. How do you kind of in your business, how do you have that combination of enough diversity, but also be specialist enough? It's a challenge, isn't it?
Well, it's a real challenge. I do it through investing in different businesses. So you build a portfolio, but that for a lot of farmers, it's a cop-out. I've got the privilege now of sitting on a number of farming boards, and it's interesting. You got to do both. That's the reality.
Yeah.
And, I think about, you still got to do, someone told me once, and it's actually something I often think about, is often for people going for jobs, you've got to be like a T. You've got to be really broad in your skill set and really broad in your ability, but you've got to be really expert. You've got to have a superpower in one thing.
Yeah.
So I think, no question, you need a superpower, and whether that's land production or it's converting forage to product, but around the edges, you've got to have the capability to partner in other areas. And there's some, how do we monetize nature? At the moment, it's a big discussion. A lot of sheep and beef farms in New Zealand, and there's a few different things that people are partnering with different people in that space. There's people partnering around tourism businesses, around energy businesses. So you might not be because you don't have the skills to do it yourself. Again, it's a bit like that offshore example. You're trying to work out how you partner to build more resilience. And some of this isn't actually alternate incomes. It's also how much debt do you have in your business?
Yeah.
And how do you grow your business without debt? How do we share farm? How do we lease? I think those models are going to be used a lot more in the future. How do we bring equity into our businesses rather than doing everything ourselves? And even have take-out provisions on that equity when you've got to a certain stage. So it's just thinking like that, Ferg, but I think your point's very valid. You still have to, whatever you do, you've got to do well and play to your strengths.
Yeah, it's an ongoing challenge. And I guess it's a bandwidth thing. And so as long as you can do two things, as long as there's one person in the business focused on each of those two things, I guess, rather than so that's all they get up and think about. Like mostly the problem with lots of things to think about is that you just don't do any of it very well. And so you miss those opportunities. But.
And to be fair, it's probably easier in bigger businesses to do multiple things because you've actually got more people. Small businesses are very difficult because, you've got to be a master of all trades and you do run out of energy.
Yeah.
And I think successful small businesses do stick to their knitting, but they also probably have informal and formal mentors that they work with and bounce things off and hold them to account in some ways. Whether it's a good accountant or farm consultant or whether it's an advisory board to that degree, but just helps them work through what wheat from the chaff type of stuff. What do they focus on and what don't they?
Yeah.
What's important to them?
We might swing to one of the businesses. You're on the chair of the investment committee, I think, and Cultivate Ventures. Talk us. I guess we talked earlier about the need for innovation and the need for private investment in innovation, and I'm assuming that's what Cultivate Ventures does. Talk us through that and the kind of deals you look to do in that business.
Well, Ferg is actually quite appropriate because it comes right back to Stanford.
Yeah.
Because you know how I'm goal driven, and I remember one of the things that I came back from Stanford saying, I'm going to set up a fund. I'm going to be part of a fund because I see lots of disruption coming, but lots of opportunities with that. And I also could see that the money wasn't going to flow to the farmers that supplied these new models. It was going to flow to where the capital returns from. That's where the super profits would go, and they never go to the producer. So as farmers, we had to invest in these disruptive businesses. But having invested in a number of flash startups before myself, because they were going to change the world, and they were, I thought, relatively low risk, and they failed, I realised you can't just put your money on one horse. Yeah. And you had to be doing it through a fund, because typical funds, if there's 10 different businesses, one or two of them might be superstars, and they drive the return for the whole business, and 5 or 6 of them might give you money back, and 2 or 4 of them might fail completely. So a fund concept was what was required. So I came back and at the time was involved in AgMart, and we put quite a lot of energy into that for the next 3 or 4 years. And it was actually the Foundation Arable Research here in New Zealand, which is a grower funded, a levy paying R&D business in the arable industry. And they were prepared to commit some capital to get that going. And through a process, this Cultivate Ventures was born about 4 years ago. And it's not a big fund, but it's north of 20 mil and on the way to being a $40 million fund. And the thing I'm most proud of is that 40-odd farmers so far have invested in that fund.
Yeah, awesome.
And over half the capital is from farming, and the rest is from the farming value chain. And so it's a growth fund that's coming into the food and fibre sector, and not necessarily early stage, and that is a challenge for a lot of people to get funding for an idea at the early stage. But this is after they've used their money from friends and family, and they've sorted their product out, and they've sorted their market out, and they need to now grow. And so far in the last 3 years, we've made 8 investments in New Zealand businesses and technology. All those businesses will end up going offshore to grow their market because they've got that sort of potential. And they are all businesses that will grow exponentially so that they're all based off tech, effectively. And there's some in the plant space, a lot of them around AI and how that's going to innovate. Like one example was Mindhive that, does AI cameras on pelts, green pelts in the beef industry and dried pelts, and can 30 different measurements and can take people out of a process and do it so much quicker and quality of the results better. Hectare is a camera-based AI system in the horticultural packhouse industry. Leaf foods, there's AIMA farming, there's Bovonic, which is a mastitis sensor technology, and so there's 8 in total. I can't remember the other 3. Oh, Maruko, which is a GE-based, it's in Australia at the moment, but in basically mimicking the fats of milk in a plant, and it's got huge potential, but technology may not be allowed in New Zealand. So they're all companies, and we've done a number of follow-ons to those companies as well. So to me, the more funds like we have like this, the better, and the ability for farmers as part of their, diversification and part of their how do they share in the future. What part of it is how do they supply these companies in the future, but part of it is also how do they get profits out of them from capital.
Yeah, it's that separation of I guess the old co-op theory was we all invest in the thing and we do in the processing often, and then we share the profits of processing, and that means it's all fair. But this is, I guess, taking that to a different level and in a way better, way more effective way, in the sense that, as you say, the profit will go to the people who are getting closer to the consumer rather than the farmer. And so if the farmer's got a stake in those profits of those different technologies, then obviously that capital is going to flow back to those investors. So that's a very different way of thinking about it, but one that once you get your head around that, it's kind of like all things becomes quite obvious. it's things that feel strange and hard to conceive become going, yeah, why wouldn't we do that? So it makes a lot of sense.
And we've got, Cultivate Ventures has got experts in their field that run it, and so the DD due diligence is unbelievably thorough.
Yeah.
There's a thesis done on every investment. We know what we're expecting to achieve out of it. We know where the risks are. We're actually then they're actively involved in the companies, even though often we've only got a small stake, but trying to really add value and link them up with other people and other players. And so it's again that example of, you're partnering with the experts, and that's what I like. So I chair the investment committee, and that's fascinating to see. We obviously we probably only invest in less than 10% of the businesses we look at. But the really exciting thing is there's a lot of innovation happening.
Yeah.
And the innovation's really critical to making sure we stay relevant in the future as farming businesses, because if we can commercialise those businesses, ultimately it'll give us opportunities to superpower our businesses by then adapting that technology into our business. So that's the real benefit also of not just the people that get a return from that, it's the consumers or customers that use these products too should benefit back from their farming business.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any room for innovation that's, I guess, 10 years ago, currently still in lots of industries, where that first stage innovation is either coming from a grower levy or from a government tax-based fund somehow to get that first science done? But more and more we're seeing that's going to entrepreneurs doing something, dreaming up stuff in the middle of the night and having a crack at it. That flywheel's not going to slow down, is it? Like that's the direction of how the industry going is only good. There's no one out there there's no investment in smartphones that's some government investing in smartphone technology, because there's 100 different companies doing that. And so what's the room for industry investment in research outside of kind of innovation or outside of entrepreneurs?
Well, it might be different in Australia. In New Zealand, there's actually not a hell of a lot of
No.
But grower levies is probably going more into still the R&D funding, but it's more the applied end.
Yeah,
it's not the exponential. It's the incremental rather than the exponential end. And I guess governments, New Zealand government has got their PSGFs that is about innovation and stretch. But that's 40%, and the business is still 60% of that anyhow.
Yeah.
So that's an example of how the government is partnering.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I think this is a space where you're outside the conventional. The risk of failure is really high.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a space that levy payers and government like playing too much.
Want to be in, yeah.
So if we're going to really, that's the thing we probably learned at Stanford, Ferg, was the amount of capital that was starting to come into that space offshore was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's now coming into that space down under too.
Yeah.
So I think the genie's out of the bottle. I don't think we're going to socialise that where everyone gets the benefit out of it.
Yeah, no.
I think those people that invest now are probably the ones that are going to get the benefit, direct benefit, like the AI type multiples that some of these companies are listing at the moment. But it's not to say that farmers, if they subscribe or use the technology, won't get a benefit. But it's not the return on capital benefit.
Yeah, I assume you're still taking. If we've got a farmer listening who wants to invest in Cultivate Ventures, are we still accepting capital? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. No. It's getting a lot of momentum at the moment. Really, really going well. And so, it's a circa 10-year fund. We don't approve any investment as an investment committee unless we can see that we can get a 30% odd return on capital on it.
Yeah.
And so, some won't, they'll fail, but on the time we do it, that's our expectation. So it is a high risk, but a potentially high return type investment. So it's, but we also share a lot of it. I think the other thing that farmers and growers like is they know what the capital's going into. They get shareholder updates on how those businesses are going. They meet a couple of times a year, and they actually learn a lot out of the process as well.
Yeah.
So Cultivate Ventures. Just search the website and be put through to the right person. It won't be me.
No, you'll be busy on your mountain bike. The last thing I do want to talk about is something we share, which is kind of the ability, knowledge of exercise being key to sort of mindset. You've done you're out and about all the time with a group of mates and others. You've done some big stuff like ride the length of New Zealand on a mountain bike, I think, or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
What other crazy things have you done, mate?
Oh, most people tell you I'm on the edge of being crazy full stop anyhow. But I don't. Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's I've learned so much. I love nature. You learn so much in nature, but it originally came when I was exceptionally busy running family. Well, not that I was running much of the family, but certainly involved in the family and running businesses and travel, and I had no time. So I used to do a lot of running in those days, and just to keep myself sharp, I'd every year sign up, as did a few of my mates, to run the Kepler, which is a 60-kilometre mountain run. It used to take me a hell of a long time, but like 9 or 10 hours, but it was really good every December to have that as a target. I did that for over 10 years. And then we've run all the great walks through New Zealand multiple times, which are sort of 3 or 4 day tramps in a day. I just enjoy that, breaking a goal down into a series of steps and the teamwork that comes with it, from doing it with mates and looking after each other and, problem solving when something goes wrong. We've had a few things go wrong. So, and then the body's still very good, but I've got into quite a lot of this long distance, they call it bike packing now, where you carry your own gear and your bike. And we've got, we did the length for New Zealand in 23 days, which is fantastic. A couple of years ago, and we've done the length of the South Island with 12 mates and through the Sounds to Sounds. And this January, we're doing across the North Island, the Copico, which is from East Cape Lighthouse through to Cape Egmont, across the middle. So that'll be really good. And off this weekend to do a midwinter adventure in the West Coast for a day, which is a 100-odd K bike ride. And so, I just find if I'm challenge myself physically, it helps me be more positive about life. So it is, I guess it's a mental health thing we talk about now, isn't it? But it's a mindset thing. And it just realises that you are, as an individual, capable of a lot more. And if you realise that, then it helps you drive your businesses to be capable of a lot more too, because you've got the right mindset. So that's why I do it. Probably the same as you, Ferg.
Yeah. It's on 0 degree mornings like this morning. It's less exciting,
but it's a routine. And Gilbert Anoka talks about the performance triangle, which is skills, your mindset, and structure and routines each corner.
Yeah.
And most people think, he always says, what's the most important? And most people say skills or mindset. But he said, no, it's not. He said it's actually structure and routine. If you don't have routines wrapped around you and your business and structure, then everything else fails. And he always says that's the most important thing to get right in any team or business or person. And so that's what your routine is, of every morning putting those running shoes on and rolling out of bed.
Yeah. No, it's so. And as soon as you lose that routine, like you're away for a week or whatever, like it's amazing how quickly you've got to keep that routine going. Otherwise it breaks.
And it takes, well, you hear different things, but I've always heard it takes 6 weeks to form a habit.
Yeah.
But so, if you break a habit, you've got to reform it again. So
grind.
Good on you, Ferg. Just keep going.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Richard. Mate, that's been a great conversation. We won't, I know you don't love talking about yourself, so we won't drag it on any further. But,
no, that's good.
But really appreciate those insights and look forward to our next protocol catch-up.
Good on you. Thanks, Ferg. All the best with you and your business too.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for listening, and thanks again to our 3 fantastic sponsors. Heinegger, who are proud world leaders in the manufacturing and supply of professional sheep shearing and clipping equipment. Allflex Livestock Intelligence, part of MSD Animal Health, offer an extensive livestock product portfolio focused on animal health management, all backed up by exceptional service. ProWay Livestock Equipment offer turnkey solutions from design through to professional installation and specialise in facilities that are tailored to your specific operation for all livestock species. We thank these 3 great companies for their ongoing support of the Head Shepherd podcast.